Knowing what I know now after being a developer for almost 2 years now, here's how I would learn how to code from zero to getting your first developer job. There's many different paths to getting to be a developer, including university or doing a bootcamp, but you can definitely self-teach. I know loads of developers that have self-taught and got themselves into a job. And this is me putting all that knowledge together from my bootcamp, from my self-teaching, and putting it in a clear step-by-step journey that you can follow, kind of like a roadmap. Hopefully you will follow and stick to it and you'll be able to get your job, which is your goal. Let's start with step one. Choosing your language. I recommend JavaScript. It can be used for front end or back end, and it's one of the easier languages to pick up in terms of syntax. So I'm telling you, just choose JavaScript. And part of step one is to pick the language and then learn about the syntax. And how I would do this is doing the free Code Academy JavaScript course. As well as linking all the resources, I will actually create you a worksheet of this roadmap. So you just have everything in one place. Code Academy's course is very good. It's structured. It teaches you from the very beginning about what variables are, like conditionals, and try and not rush through this. And this applies to this whole roadmap. Don't rush through things. Try and take it in as much as you can. And I will say that I think Code Academy has these sections where it's like an extra challenge for you to do. Do those extra challenges because that is just practicing what it's teaching you. Don't skip over it to try and just get the ticks, you know. The next thing, which isn't, I would say, a section of the roadmap, I think it goes throughout all of it, is to sign up for Codewars and start practicing katas, which are these little coding problem solving challenges. Just kind of thinking things like capitalize the first letter of each word in a sentence and things like that. And it gets you thinking and trying to use your for loops that you've learned, or just practicing using the syntax. So I would set yourself a goal of like 3 a day, maybe like 1 in the morning. They might just take like 15-20 minutes to do, depending on how fast you're picking it up. But it's really good to like keep the knowledge going, because otherwise you can very easily forget everything. So I'd be doing that after you've learned some syntax. Start doing those katas as soon as possible. Now that you've got the basic syntax and you've been practicing it, the next section or part of your roadmap would be to learn core programming fundamentals. This would be writing functions and functional programming, and then object-oriented programming gets a bit more complicated. Learning about promises and asynchronous and synchronous programming. And to do this, you will probably have to follow something like Free Code Camp will definitely have something like this. I will find it and link it below for each section, so don't worry about it. And just follow that from start to finish. Take your time over it. Try and like write notes, practice in like an online code editor or something. Or even better, set up your own along the way. And then you've learned how to set up an IDE. So yeah, feel free to pick a different tutorial if you're not gelling with the way someone's explaining something, but make sure they're covering basically the same things, so all the programming concepts. Now that you've got the core fundamentals of programming, I think this is a great time to now explore front-end tech stack. So this would be HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. I would try and build your own little website. I remember from my bootcamp course, we did this. I think I made like a silly Shrek themed website where, I don't know, it's just basic facts about Shrek or something ridiculous. But set yourself something fun that you want to look forward to making, and then make it, because if you're making it fun, that's even better. So yeah, set yourself a fun website to make and just follow like a tutorial, but make it your own. And then you would have gained some kind of front end knowledge and learn how the way CSS works and how to style components. Okay, so you've got some basic styling knowledge of using HTML, CSS, and you know how to use JavaScript within those core programming fundamentals. This next section is where you're gonna try and apply all of your knowledge, which is probably gonna be the toughest section of this roadmap because it might be the one with a bit of a jump, but you're gonna be applying your knowledge to more real life applications. So from this, I would recommend creating a tiny front-end project using a public API. And by the way, when you're making these projects, these should all be on your GitHub account that you haven't made yet, but you're going to make it, and you're going to be using source control, which is another thing you have to pick up as you're learning. And the thing is, from your learning of the programming language and how to use it, you wouldn't have picked up things like what an API is and how applications actually work. So this is going to be your time where you are researching these things alongside you making something. So let's say you follow a project tutorial on how to make a really simple front-end app. For example, let's say you use the public cat API, which is just a bunch of cat images you can fetch, and then you can just display it on a page, or, you know, something really simple like that. I want you to be Googling or learning about how the fetching works, what then HTTP methods and what HTTP protocol is, and that needs to go alongside you making this, because there's no point kind of doing it in one block. It's way better to be doing it as you're going along, because once you come across something, you'll obviously think, what is this? And then you can go and look it up and learn about it, and then that's added to your stack of knowledge that you're taking on. So for this little front end part, like using a public API, I would focus on how to fetch data, how to handle responses, and also how to possibly add some kind of form elements into it somehow. Like maybe you're searching for a specific cat or something. This is all linked to how to fetch data. Again, I'm gonna link resources for this below or in the handout that I'll give out. So now that you've kind of gone in from the front end, you'll be able to have fetched data, you've gained some understanding. Now it's your turn to try and create a mini API. But again, it can be something really simple like get all movie titles, or I'd stick with one subject, so it could be movie titles, movie genres, and then I'd also try and do a post request in there. I'd learn about HTTP methods. Hopefully you would have started learning about that from your mini front end project, but definitely get really into it and try and create let's say 3 different routes that do different things. So get something like movie titles, create a new movie or add a new movie title, and maybe delete or something like that. You can even go as far as to try and add queries like movies starting with the letter M, but that's a bit more complex. It's meant to just give you a feel for it. It's meant to make the next step less daunting, because you're not going into making a full-blown project, because going from learning programming fundamentals to creating a whole application is just, no one's gonna do that because it's kind of impossible, or you're just gonna more likely to give up because it's such a big jump. Okay, so as I just mentioned, the next step is to make your first application, or what they call CRUD application, which is a create, read, update, and delete. These are the core methods that is in every application. Just how you're manipulating data. This is basically what software development is. And for this, I'm going to recommend you closely follow a full tutorial. So make sure you're actively learning. Even if you're following a tutorial, make sure you're referring to the documentation of whatever you're making, and you might be doing it with a specific framework. Then go and learn about that framework. Okay, so the next step is making your own project, and I would try and choose something really simple, but something that is your own. So it could be a classic blog website, like blog posts, kind of like Reddit. That is usually the one which people start off with. And it can also be similar to the one you made with the tutorial, but make sure you're changing it enough to create a bit of a challenge for yourself, where you're not just referring to that, you are kind of having to look up things yourself. And also, hopefully throughout these 2 steps, you would have explored back-end frameworks and front-end frameworks, most likely React.js. And I've not put a timeline on this roadmap because some people might take longer over it than others. Some people might be working, some people might not be. So just take enough time that you're not rushing through. That's all I'll say. Okay, so now you have a couple of projects under your belt and you kind of know what you're doing a bit more. What did you enjoy the most? This might be the time to think about what you want to focus on. If you really are opposed to doing front end or back end and you just want to do the other, then that's great. If you're not sure, you can always look for full stack roles. And that's what we'll be thinking about next, what to do to actually land a job. So this is the job application and CV section. I could do a whole video on CVs themselves, but I will tell you the main things you want. There's loads of CV templates online, but it can get a bit overwhelming. So I'll tell you the basic kind of sections you need on your CV. Obviously, you'll need your name and your title. So I would just put your name and software developer, or if you're really going for front-end development, put front-end developer. You get the gist. I would link your GitHub under that with your number, and if you have a portfolio, you can link that, but that's pretty much it. Make sure they're hyperlinked. Then your first section is really short profile. I am a front-end developer that's worked on XYZ and done XYZ. That's pretty much it. Don't need to waffle in the section. Then I would have your tech stack. So I just bullet point back end, front end, tools, anything kind of that you've learned or you picked up. And I would just put like what you actually know. So, you would put JavaScript, Express if you used Express framework, React, all the things you've used. Then, most importantly, your project section. So this is going to be the next section. So hopefully those first 2 aren't that big. Then your big, most important section is your projects. This is going to be a list or like a bullet point kind of name of your project, which is hyperlinked to your GitHub, to that repository. And then you're going to explain what you did in that project, what you achieved, what your aim was, as concisely as possible. Do that for all your projects. And then you can put your education, qualifications, and then a tiny section on interests if you think it will help. You can miss that off if you want. That's pretty much what you would put on your CV, and you'll be continually updating this as you're hopefully working on more and more projects. But get a first draft, get ChatGPT to spell check it, or suggest improvements. That's fine as well. But I got someone to check my CV in my bootcamp. They had some careers team. So this is just coming from my knowledge from that. Okay, so now we've sorted our CV. Let's move on to job prep. Carry on doing your coding katas, because the technical interview portion when you're landing interviews is going to be exactly like that. And I'll tell you now, in my interview for this job, I got fizz buzz, which is a coding kata type question, and if I hadn't been doing katas, I would have not been able to do it, because it keeps you in that problem solving mindset of writing little functions. So keep up with that. Then I would look up common beginner developer interview questions. I got loads of these, and you can easily find them online. You can check out what I was asked. I have a job searching playlist, but there were things like, what is a left join in SQL? What are solid principles? Some kind of questions you can easily answer if you've done your prep for them. And also you might get some general questions like, what would you do in this situation? More competency-based questions since you're new. And also they might ask you how you keep up with technology. If you don't, just come up with a good answer or actually start doing that. I guess at the time I probably wasn't. I was just trying to get a job. I didn't really know much about tech outside of what I'd learned on, my coding journey. So I probably didn't have a great answer for that, but if you can, good. I mean, even saying you watch stuff on YouTube is valid as well. Even if you watch me on YouTube, it's valid as well. But yeah, otherwise, just make sure you're well versed in your CV and you're able to explain fluently how you've worked on your projects. Just be able to talk about your projects basically, and with enthusiasm. Interviews are all about your confidence and the way you're presented. Most of the interviewers, especially for entry level, they just want to see someone who is enthusiastic, who's willing to learn. They want someone that's going to fit in with the company, fit in with the team, be easy to work with, be willing to kind of pick up things. So you just have to be really aware of that. And also have a good few questions to ask at the end of the interview. Classic ones. What's your favorite part of your job? What do you do day to day? What kind of things would I be working on in my first year as a new developer? What kind of impact can I have? Those kind of things. And of course, be applying to jobs so you can interview for jobs. And I think we're at the end of the roadmap. Now you're a developer. Congratulations. This is gonna take time. It's not like an overnight thing. It's gonna take a while to get through all of this content. And plus, when you start applying for jobs, it's not finished. You just carry on. But at this point, you're in a position to start applying for jobs. But that doesn't mean your learning stops. But yeah, you have to just kind of push through. There will be times where it is difficult, and especially when you're self-learning and you don't have people to ask. I mean, nowadays you have ChatGPT. I know you have tutorials, but sometimes it is easier to be in kind of a cohort of people that are doing the same thing as you. It would be great if you could get, if you found some people doing something similar to you, which you could ask, or just joining a community. I have a Discord community that is small but growing, and people are willing to help you. So don't worry about it. So that is our roadmap. I am gonna link the handout down below so you can download it. It'll have all the links and it's something for you to refer back to. I'll also link things below as well. But I hope that this is valuable for you. And I have a lot of videos explaining those concepts that I said you'd be coming across all the time. And I explain them in a very simplistic way for beginners to understand. So definitely check that out and don't miss that as a resource. Use my channel as a resource. But yeah, if you need any more clarity, just drop a question in the comments and I'll try and answer it. And I hope you enjoyed this video. But other than that, I'll see you next time. Here's what I would do if I knew stuff.